Shalom. Apostle Harkin back into the truth, giving more praises to Yahweh Shabbat. And I'm going to entitle this video, The Gentiles in the New Testament are the Scattered Israelites. Now, when you go to the New Testament and you come across the word Gentile or heathen, sometimes it's talking about other nations. Other times it's talking about the Israelites that have been scattered. And I did a word search on the word scattered, and I gleaned a couple of videos, but there's so many. I believe the word scattered is mentioned in the King James more than 70 times. And sometimes the word scattered, when you come across certain precepts, is talking about the other nations. But most of the time it's talking about Israelites being scattered. And that's why you have vocab. One of the last videos he did, he rolled up on a brother Israelite. I don't know if he's GMS. I don't know if he's just on his own. He was out there by himself teaching, and vocab rolled up on him, and vocab went to, let me bring it up. He went to Ephesians. What is that? Chapter 2. I just want to read the first verse or two. The key point, I would say the 11th verse, but I just want to go into the first verse. It said, okay, it says the headline is Made Alive in the Messiah. So I'm going to read the first verse, maybe the second, maybe even the third verse. Anyway, it says, and you had he quickened who were dead in trespasses and sin. So we're going to find out in this lesson that the ones that were quickened or made alive are the Israelites. Now you have the Israelites that were born in Israel, that were the male child was circumcised on the 8th day, and they spoke their language, the language of their people. The certain foods they couldn't eat, that their parents would feed them the right diet, and they would grow when they were 12 years old, and that's when you become a man. That's when you officially become a man. It doesn't mean that you go to the military and fight for Israel. You fight for Israel when you're 20 years old. And it doesn't mean if you're 19 and a half year old, you're a little one. Zakari be going off on that. Little one means young ones. You can say from an infant to, I would say under the age of 12. At 12, you become a man. Anyway, it says, and you hath he quickened who were dead in trespasses and sins, wherein in time past you walked according to the course of this world, meaning you followed the ways of this world. Let me look up the word world to see whether it's cosmos, eon, oikomeni. This is something that Christians don't do unless you're a professor of a theological cemetery. Okay, so this is a new one for the word world. Give me a second. Okay, that's walked. Okay, I'm sorry. Let me bring this back. Bring this back. Walked according to the course of this world. Okay, the word is cosmos. And this world that it's talking about is the Greco-Roman world, or wherever they were scattered, they followed the ways and customs of those kingdoms, or those kingdoms, I would say. And that's in for the most part in First Maccabees, which I may go to in this video. If not this video, I'll come back and do another video. How by the command of Antiochus Epiphanes, he forced them not to be Israelites, not to be Jews. And a great deal of them accepted that so they can receive some sort of benefit from this devil. So they taught their children that. That's why you read about in the New Testament, I'm focusing on the New Testament, the Apostle Paul being apostle to the Gentiles, therefore he magnified his office. It's not talking about other nations. That's what they used to teach at One West. You know, Romans the 11th chapter, the branches being grafted in against nature. They're being grafted in against nature because they followed the ways of the other nations so much that they mutilated well, first of all, they wasn't circumcised on a physical level. They could have had markings or tattoos or, you know, things that changed their body, mutilated their body. They had all kind of manner of unclean foods inside of, you know, that they ate. Hence, Acts the 10th chapter, the sheep coming down with all manner of unclean beasts, and the Lord saying to Peter, rise and eat, kill and eat. And he said, I'm not going to eat that. That's unlawful. And when the sheep was taken back up, and a lot of you dumbass Christians, you say, well, that means you could eat anything. No, it doesn't say that, because when you read the account, it says when the sheep was taken back up, he wondered as to what it meant. It meant it was something that was given to him. There was a spiritual meaning there. And what he came to find out was the Lord was opening it up to the Israelite foreigners, the Israelite Gentiles, Israelites in a Gentile state of mind. Matter of fact, I got to read that. Just come back here. And I'm going to come, Ephesians chapter 2 is a very important chapter that the Christians use to justify the fact that Gentiles are part of this ministry, and they're not. Those Gentiles are Israelites that are scattered. Okay, let me go to Acts 10. There was a certain man, first verse, there was a certain man in Caesarea called Cornelius. And by the way, when you click on the word Cornelius in the blue letter, it says of a horn. Doesn't mean that. The word Cornelius means, kernel means kernel, like a kernel of corn. Kernel means seed. So the word Cornel in the name Cornelius means seed. That's what his name means, which is an omen nomen. He's part of the seed of Israel. And the IUS is a suffix. Like you have, during that time period, you had Marcus, Marcus Aurelius, the suffix ius. You had Commodus, the suffix ius. Let me think of some other names. Well, during that time period, it was a suffix added on to a name. So the actual name is Cornell or Colonel, which means corn. It doesn't mean horn. It says there was a certain man, which he was an Israelite in Caesarea, called Cornelius, a centurion of the band called the Italian band. So they're saying, well, he was a so-called white man because number one, he was a centurion. Let's look up the word centurion. And you men out there that's trying to build on this thing, this is how you build. This is how you understand things. So when it comes up, you know to reference it. You go to this reference, you go to that scripture, you go to that map, you go to that account in history. The scriptures speak about growing in this thing, that you may grow thereby. Not the Most High is not dealing with stagnant people. The elect of Israel are not stagnant people. So let's look up the word centurion. June 1543. And that's actually a Greek word, not a Roman or Latin word. It says an officer in the Roman army. Excuse me. It says an officer in the Roman army. Okay, there's more information here. Okay, it says the captain of 100 men, centurion. That's where you get the word century, century meaning 100. In Italy, and it is in southern Italy, places like Naples and Sicily, when they get together, you know, they eat their food, they take the wine, and they'll say, sendan. Maybe I'm not saying it right. Sendan, it means 100 years. Sen meaning 100, and dan meaning years. Or like you have AD, which means Anno Domini. So sent or sent means 100, officer of 100. You know, he wasn't a top general, but he had 100 men that he commanded. And you don't just become that overnight. You have to build up in the rankings, improve yourself. So you say, oh, well, he was an Edomite because he was a centurion and from Italy. Well, guess what? You had Israel. I'm going into the scattered. This man was an Israelite that was scattered. We don't know the backstory of this man. We don't know the name of his father and his mother. This guy, Barak of the HODC, he said years ago, because we were going back and forth about the Cornelius thing. You know, we said that Cornelius is an Israelite. And they were, no, Cornelius is an Edomite. You guys are going. This is back in 08, 09. And Barack, or Elder Barack, did a video saying that, no, he's an Edomite. He's from the famous Cornelius family. I said the Cornelius family. So I looked up and went to Google and put Cornelius family famous. And there's no famous, so he made it up to justify that nonsense that they be going off too. HODC, they go off too. They're basically like a church organization with an Israelite twist to it. And they can't learn and grow because they don't watch our videos, because these other guys, I'm not looking at GMS videos, man. The truth is there. Just like the MOTB. Anyway, let me come back. It says a centurion of the band called the Italian band. So he was a Jake that was living in Italy. He commanded 100, had 100 men under his command in Italy, because you had Jakes in Italy. That's why you have Southern Italians look, compares for black people, Dominicans, they look like Dominicans, they look like Puerto Ricans. A lot of those spaghetti westerns, the Indians were played by, for the most part, Sicilians, and they look like dark-skinned Indians. They look like Indians because the Moors went down there. That's a whole nother subject. See, the Moors, when they took over certain, I'll focus on Edomite nation. What they did was they killed the men, and they dealt with the women, and they had children with the women. And there's an old ancient term when you went to another nation, because all men of war did that. They see a woman, they might have fell in love with the woman, they popped the woman a couple of times. Inside joke. I know Bishop Sakaran is cracking up. And they wouldn't bring, because they would have wives back at home, so they wouldn't bring them women back. And guess what? They left the seat. That happened in Vietnam. A lot of those Vietnamese down there, a great part of the population of Vietnamese are Jake, man, because Jake left their seed down there. In the Philippines during World War II. You know, Jake is going to get it in. And when I say Jake, I'm talking about Judah, Benjamin, Gad, Ephraim, Reuben. So if you go down to like Thailand, you know, Malaysia, Indonesia. Now, I used to deal with a chick from Indonesia. She was nothing but the nigger woman. And her brother was he was nothing but a Jake. They were nothing but Jakes. They were nothing but Jakes. They looked like Jakes, and they acted, they had the spirit of Jake. They danced like Jake. They talked shit like Jake. They ain't nothing but Jake, man. And if you saw them, this chick I used to deal with, and her brother, you say those are Jakes. They were Indonesians, man. Anyway, it says a devout man and one that feareth the Most High with all his house. Now, wait a minute. There ain't no fear of the Most High in among the Edomites. And it shows you that you guys, you other Israelites out there, and you Christians don't really understand the scriptures. With all his house, which gave much alms, money to the people, the Israelites, and prayed to the Most High always. He saw in a vision eventually about the 9th hour of the day, which was, what was that? Was at about 3 o'clock in daytime. He saw in in a vision, evidently about the ninth hour of the day, an angel of the Most High coming into him, presenting himself to him and saying unto him, Cornelius. And when he looked on him, he was afraid and said, what is this, Lord? And he said unto him, thy prayers and thine alms are come up for a memorial before the Most High. Now maybe Vocab Malone, John Mark Reiser, the Ashkenazi, maybe he's hoping that an angel come. Angel ain't come to you. The angel never came to you, Vocab, because you ain't the one. You better hope like hell you're Israelite. That's the only way you're gonna make it. You really want to make it. Now, the last video that I saw with him with the other Jake, there was just one brother himself and then Vocab, and it seemed like Vocab almost wanted to cry. And in that video, I'm saying, well, maybe Vocab is sincerely trying to get in there. Well, the only way you can get in there is if you're an Israelite. When you first came on the scene back in 2016, you said that you're Sicilian because of your mother. And then you put your finger up and you went boom. Like you in there anyway. Well, wait a minute. Your mother could be an Israelite, but is your father Israelite? Now, I'll give you a little pat on the back. A lot of Jakes were in Germany. World War II, a lot of Jakes were popping them women, man, leaving their seeds down there. So the only hope that you have is that your father's line goes back to an Israelite, and then you can be delivered, whether you make it or not. Let's say you're an Israelite, you don't make it. Guess what? You're gonna make it back in the kingdom if you're an Israelite. But an actual Gentile, a natural Gentile, will not make it. Point blank, period. Bottom line, end of sentence. Anyway, it says, and now send men to Joppa and call for one Simon, whose surname is Peter. He lodged with one Simon the tanner, whose house is by the seaside. He shall tell thee what thou oughtest to do. Now I'm not going to read this whole account right here, but I want to jump right to Acts 11. And the apostles, which was the rest of the 12, and brethren that were in Yahweh, heard that the Gentiles, the Israelites that didn't know that they were Israelites, had also received the word of the Most High. And when Peter was come up to Jerusalem, they that were of the circumcision, which means the Jews, contended. Now, when you compare circumcision and uncircumcision in the scriptures, it's talking about Israelite circumcised Israelites, meaning they were born into Israel. They spoke Hebrew. The uncircumcisions were Israelites that didn't know that they were Israelites, that were uncircumcised, had tattoos on their face, eating the different foods that they were eating, unclean foods. They were doing everything. They weren't keeping the Sabbath. Okay, saying thou wentest in to men uncircumcised. So uncircumcised meant that they didn't know that they were Israelites. They didn't keep the laws. And dideth eat with them. But Peter rehearsed the matter from the beginning and expounded it by order unto them, saying, I was in the city of Joppa praying. Vision came down at the four corners, unclean animals and so forth, which represent Israelites in an unclean state. But anyway, I'm not gonna go all into this. This is a whole nother lesson. Acts 10 and Acts 11. That's another topic. I don't know what topic. I keep trying to get a topic. Well, guess what? You can do the topic on Acts 10 and Acts 11. What are you guys waiting for, man? The kingdom of heaven? To start doing videos? To go out and speak? Set up camps? This is the time to set up camps. That's why the brother from Italia, GMS, had that dream about myself and Apostle Gabar. And in the video that Apostle Gabar did, what did he say in the video? The stoic nature of Tahar, or Apostle Tahar, that I was mean and I was mad at the guy, but I'm really not like that. I do have a mean streak on me. If you do something, I'm gonna show that part of me. But for the most part, I'm a nice guy. I'm like nice guy Eddie. You know, I'm just another nice guy Eddie, man. Because you don't gotta bring forth that hardcore, you know, you just be you flow. You know, you flow. But when needs be, if things got to be put in order, then your spirit changes up. You got to get in that stoic spirit. And what we do when we put up these videos day after day after day after day, that means you're a stoic. You're a disciplinarian. You might not have anything in your mind, to do a video, but you got to force yourself to do a video. And I said, when we did the lineup this week, over the weekend, I said it before, I said, look, sometime I'll sit in front of the computer for 2-3 hours looking for a topic, and it might not never come. Or it might take a couple of hours, then it comes, or I might just go to sleep. I get up the next morning, and then I got all kinds of topics in my head. See, I just got up, but I got up at 7, around 7, and I got up saying, I got to do a video. I got to do a video. I got to do a video. What can I do a video on? So anyway, so this is all about the Gentiles in the New Testament, the Gentiles in the NT, and that they're Israelites. So now what I did was, oh, I'm sorry. I didn't even read this verse right here. This is the first scripture that I came across that it was written down somewhere, which is 2 Ezra 2, verse 7. But I'm going to read it in context. First, I'm going to read the 7th verse, then I'm going to read it in context, which is starting from verse 4 down to verse 10. And you see there's a major full-scale war going on over there. The Russians invading the Ukraine people, and it's escalating. And NATO keeps coming up. The US keeps coming up. The MSM, which is the mainstream media, American mainstream media, keeps talking about it. CNN is only dedicated to the war over there in the Ukraine. The Russians attacking the people, going to war, declaring war with the Ukraine. So we're close to this thing. So if you haven't got serious, and now now what's in the news is the plan for the Russians is to hack into the computer system, the internet, and disrupt what's going on in America. Because guess what? Whether you know it or not, America is already in the war because they're supplying weapons and finance to the people of Ukraine. They're keeping the war going through those two acts, their finance and their weaponry. So let's say America goes to war against, I don't know, let's say Korea. And what's keeping the Koreans in the war is the fact that China, and this happened in the Korean conflict, which was the Vietnam conflict. Conflict was an extension of the Korean conflict. All right, which was a police action. So who was backing, supplying the Koreans? The Chinese. And some of the people that they were fighting that they thought were Koreans were actually Chinese officers. So really, the Korean conflict was a declaration of war really against China. So guess what? America's already in the war. America's already in the war. And once they shoot one bullet onto Poland, that's Third World War, because the Russians are close to Poland. So being in the time that we're living in, this is a major prophetic time. The fulfillment of all the scriptures, the rest of the scriptures are coming to pass in our lifetime, in our lifetimes, in our generation. And if you ain't serious about this thing, well, guess what? You may not be one of the elect. Matter of fact, I don't believe you are one of the elect. Scriptures speak about turning your back on the plow, man. This is not no game. This is, look, look, in the middle of this war, the Ukraine, men, they gave an order from the year of 18-year-old, 18 to 60, all men have to stay and fight. That's an order. So guess what? We've been in war since we got over here, before we got over here. We've been in a spiritual war. And you got people out there, Jakes out there just lamping, man, laying back, chilling. And the Most High gonna kill all of you that ain't in this war. And basically, our war is a spiritual war. That's in Second Corinthians. Matter of fact, let me go ahead and get that. And the Most High don't want you if you standing around with your hands in your pockets, scratching them head, inside jokes, scratching them head, patting them head. The Most High is going to destroy you, man. You trying to figure this thing out. You've been in this thing for 2 years, 3 years, whatever. And you trying to figure this thing out. You ain't going to make it. The Most High going to drop you like a bad habit. Okay, where did I say? I was going to go 2 Corinthians. Okay, I'm going to go right to the point. 3rd verse. For though we walk in the flesh, we do not war after the flesh. For the weapons of our warfare are not carnal, but mighty through the Most High to the pulling down of strongholds. What are the strongholds? The lies that Esau put up concerning the color of the Lord, his son, everything that they teach in Christianity. So we're chopping them lies down. It says casting down imagination and every high thing that exalted itself against the knowledge of the Most High, and bringing into captivity every thought to the obedience of the Messiah, and having in a readiness to revenge all disobedience when your obedience is fulfilled. So this is a spiritual war that we're in. And a lot of you guys are standing around, all this stuff, you're taking a break, you're taking a couple months off. You need a hiatus. Ain't no such thing as a hiatus in Israel, man. You don't retire in this thing either. This is spiritual warfare, spiritual battle. But Esau looks at us, they want us to be carnal. Esau is the carnal man. He's the man of carnality. We're the spiritual man. Okay, okay, let me come back over here. So it says 2 Ezra 2, verse 7. I'll read the verse, and then I'll read it in context. It says, let them be scattered abroad among the heathen. The heathen are talking about the other nations. Let their names be put out of the earth. So that at one point in time, we never called ourselves Israelites. So now that we woke up to the fact that we're Israelites, we got all this pushback coming from Edomites and other Jakes out there. No, I ain't no Israelite, I'm an African. That's why we have no business dealing with Sarnetta, the HOK, the so-called Black consciousness community. We have look, Captain Cesariak is clearly going off by even sitting down with them. Let me hit that real quick. Bear with me for a minute. What is that? 2 Corinthians. I believe that's 6. We'll find out in a minute. Second Corinthians 6, verse 14. Be ye not unequally yoked together with unbelievers. What's an unbeliever? It's a Jake that doesn't believe in this truth. You're not supposed to get with them. You know, you can say a few words. You got the next door neighbor, how you doing? You got people that you deal with on the job. You know, you talk the little small talk, the little elevator talk, and that's about it. But you shouldn't be getting with them, period. You shouldn't be building with them. It says, be ye not unequally yoked together with unbelievers, for what fellowship have righteousness with unrighteousness? The Black conscious community, that whole shtick, spiel is unrighteous. And they're enemies to you. And what common communion have light with darkness? We have the light, they're in darkness. So why are you sitting down rubbing elbows with somebody of the darkness? You can read on to the end. So let me read that again. Let them be scattered abroad among the heathen. Let their names be put out of the earth, the name of Israel. So we're coming back to it. And we're getting a lot of pushback. For they have despised my covenant. Who have despised the Lord's covenant? We have. So the Most High said, you know what? I'm going to scatter you, and I'm going to take the fact that you're Israelites out of your mind. So now we're coming back. What does it say in Baruch? And coming back, seek him 10 times more, right? It didn't say, instead of saying seek him 10 times more, put your hand in your pocket. Chill out. You don't got to come out every week. You don't got to go out there on the highways and the byways. Them camps. Anyway, I'm going to read it in context, right? It says, starting from the 4th verse, 2 Ezra 2, verse 4. But what shall I now do unto you? I am a widow and forsaken. Go your way, O my children, talking about Israelites, and ask mercy of Yahweh. As for me, O Father, I call upon thee for a witness. This is Ezra talking over the mother of these children. The mother and the children represent Israelites, which would not keep my covenant, that thou bring them to confusion, and their mother to a spoil, it's talking about Israel, that there may be no offspring of them. In other words, when you have children, your children are not going to know the Israelites. It says, let them be scattered abroad among the heathen, the other nations. So we were scattered to a point where a lot of us even look like you got Israelites that have blonde hair, blue eye, and pasty white skin, as they call it. You have Israelites that look like straight up Hamites. You have Israelites that look like Vietnamese. You have Israelites that look like every nation on the planet. And they're in fact Israelites. Let their names be put out on the earth, for they have despised my covenant. Woe be unto thee, Ashur, that thou hidest the unrighteous in thee, O thou wicked people. Remember what I did unto Sodom and Gomorrah. And he's going to do that to Babylon the Great, whose land lieth in clods of pitch and heaps of ashes. Even so also will I do unto them that hear me not, saith the Lord Almighty. Thus saith the Lord Yahweh unto Esdras, tell my people, the Israelites, that I will give them the kingdom of Jerusalem, which I would have given unto Israel. So now it seems like the Lord has a new people, as vocab would say, the body of believers. And he left out Israel. No, he's saying that the Lord's people right now are the elect of Israel, not the rest of Israel. So now what I did was I looked up the word scattered, right? And it's 71 times in the King James. So I cherry picked some of these precepts, and I'm gonna go through them because there's a lot of them. It says Deuteronomy 30, verse 3. Now, Deuteronomy 28, verse 64, it speaks about us being scattered. It says, Deuteronomy 30, verse 3, that then the Lord Yahweh, the Most High, will turn thy captivity and have compassion upon thee, and will turn and gather thee from all nations. So you have Israelites in Africa. You have the ISUPK saying, well, where you from, brother? Well, I'm from Ghana. You know, my parents are from Ghana. Well, you a Hamite. You know, you can't be a part of this. Well, look, where do you think they got the slave from? And there's information I was going over. I did a video on it where the majority, really all of them, all the so-called ex-former slaves that do a DNA test, their line goes back to Nigeria. And if in Nigeria, Ghana, anywhere where the slaves were taken. It says, whither the Lord thy power have scattered thee. So we were scattered all over the place, literally, man. Esther 3, verse 8. And Haman said unto King Ahasuerus, which is Xerxes from the movie 300, the big, tall guy that was fighting against King Leonidas, the guy with all the bracelets and jewelry on his face and the tattoos and whatnot. That's Ahasuerus. There are certain people scattered, which are the Israelites, abroad and dispersed among the people in all the provinces of thy kingdom. And this guy Haman might be vocab Malone, John Mark Reiser, and their laws are diverse from all people, neither keep they the king's laws. Therefore, it is not for the king's profit to suffer them, because Haman's intention was to have all the Israelites killed. And what happened to Haman and his sons? They were killed, they were hung. Psalm 44, verse 11. God has given us like sheep appointed for meat and has scattered us among the heathen. So when you see somebody roll up on you, that individual might look like an Edomite, or he might look like a Moabite, or he might look like an Arab. He might, he might talk with a Middle Eastern accent. That could be very well be an Israelite, man. Scriptures say, try the spirit. It says in Psalm 60, verse 1, to the chief musician upon Shushan Niddoth, Michtam of David. So this is a psalm of David, and psalm meaning song, to teach when he strove with Aram Naharaim and with Aram Zobah, when Joab returned and smote of Edomites. And by the way, the Edomites that he smote were the men. He spared the women. Why do you think Joab spared the women? Because they were taking the women and popping the women and having children with the women. That's why you have Israelites that have lighter skin, curlier hair, straighter hair. Like I said, you have Israelites that look straight up like Edomites. Red hair, look just like Esau, but they're Israelites. And smote of Edom, the Edomite men, in the valley of Salt, 12,000. O power, thou hast cast us off, the Israelites off, thou hast scattered us, thou hast been displeased, O turn thyself to us again. So this is David putting up a song, which is a prayer. These are prayers put up in songs. And King David is singing to the Most High. And this is for our benefit. These psalms are for our benefit today. So in essence, King David is asking that the Lord come back to us. It says, oh, turn thyself to us again. And the Lord is getting ready to do it, but he's not going to save all the Israel like he did in Egypt. Because them people that left, that generation that left Egypt or Mizraim and went into the wilderness, none of them made it to the promised land. The only ones that made it were two from one side to the other. The people that made it to the promised land were the children of the people that didn't make it. The first thing that they did was, those children they had, they didn't circumcise them. And what is this? Joshua had to make an order, look, line them up and circumcise them. So the Most High is not going to do it that time. This time he's going to destroy them. The only ones that he's going to save, deliver, are the elect of Israel, and he's going to change their bodies and he's going to make them perfect. Psalms 141, verse 7, our bones are scattered at the grave's mouth, as when one cutteth and cleaveth wood upon the earth. In other words, when you cut wood, there's pieces of wood over here, there's a twig over there. So we were scattered. And this goes hand in hand with Ezekiel chapter 37, which is one of my favorite chapters. That says a whole lot. Also, Revelation chapter 11. They shall not suffer their dead bodies to be put in graves. So it says our bones, which Ezekiel spoke of, are scattered at the grave's mouth, as when one cutteth and cleaveth wood upon the earth. It says somebody needs to do a Ezekiel 37 chapter, a whole breakdown on that. So I'm throwing it out there for the ones of you that, well, I don't have a topic. Isaiah 18, verse 2, that sendeth ambassadors by the sea, even in vessels of bulrushes upon the waters, saying, go, ye swift messengers to a nation scattered and pilled, to a people terrible from their beginning, hitherto a nation meted out and trodden down, whose land the rivers have spoiled. The rivers represent the other nations. It says the same thing in the 7th verse. Jeremiah 3 verse 31, Jeremiah 3 verse 13. Only acknowledge thine iniquity, that thou hast transgressed against the Lord Yahweh, the Most High, and hast scattered thy ways to the strangers under every green tree, and ye have not obeyed my voice, saith the Lord. Now, what I want to do, I think I got that. Let me see. Bear me for a minute. Okay, the Most High invites repentance, right? It says 11th verse, and the Lord Yahweh said unto me, the backsliding Israel have justified herself more than treacherous Judah. Go and proclaim these words toward the North America, and say, return thou backsliding Israel, saith the Lord, and I will not cause mine anger to fall upon you, for I am merciful, saith the Lord, and I will not keep anger forever. Only acknowledge thine iniquity, that thou hast transgressed against the Most High, thy power, and have scattered thy ways to the strangers under every green tree, and ye have not obeyed my voice, saith the Lord. Turn, 14th verse, turn, O backsliding children, saith Yahweh, for I am married unto you, and I will take you one of a city and two of a family, and I will bring you to Zion. And I will give you pastors according to mine heart, which shall feed you, teach you with knowledge and understanding. And you should read this whole chapter right here. There's another topic right here, Jeremiah chapter 3. Jeremiah 10 verse 21. For the pastors are become brutish and have not sought Yahweh. That's why so many people are leaving the so-called black church Christianity. And like I said before, you got maybe 98, 99% of Israelite men and some of the sisters that were at one time Christians. Therefore, so this is us teaching about us being Israelites and so forth as a direct, direct threat to the church system. And then even pastors, they get their message together, they come to our videos. They ain't gonna say it, they ain't gonna acknowledge it, and all their flock shall be scattered. Jeremiah 23 verse 2. Yeah, another chapter that there's a whole lot of information in Jeremiah 23, the 23rd chapter. Therefore, thus saith the Lord Yahweh, the Most High Israel, against the pastors that feed my people, ye have scattered my flock and driven them away from what? From the truth. All these pastors are supposed to be teaching them, the people, the congregation, that they're the Israelites. And Esau is you know who Esau is. And none of these churches, guaranteed, none of these churches, I'm talking about the so-called black church, None of them is teaching about, they don't go into prophecy. They just talk a lot of mess and have not visited them. Behold, I will visit upon you the evil of your doing, saith the Most High. Jeremiah 30, verse 11. For I am with thee, saith the Lord Yahweh, to save thee, though I make a full end of all nations, whither I have scattered thee, yet will I not make a full end of thee, but I will correct thee in measure and will not leave thee altogether unpunished, because the Most High is going to save a remnant, a small number, as compared to the masses of Israel. The scriptures say, you know your calling, right? Let me go to that. I don't know if it's ye know. Let me do it this way. Know your calling. Okay, Ephesians 1, verse 18. Okay, let me do it this way. Damn. Let me try it this way. Let's try this. Okay, 1 Corinthians 1, verse 26. For you see your calling. I don't know why you put you know your calling. For you see your calling, brethren, that not many wise according to the flesh, meaning people with college degrees and so forth, not many mighty, nor not many noble are called. So when you get a calling, you're supposed to answer the calling, man. But the Most High have chosen the foolish things of the world. We represent the foolish things of the world to put to shame the wise, and the Most High has chosen the weak things of the world to put to shame the things which are mighty. And the base things of the world and the things which are despised, the Most High have chosen. And the things which are not, to bring to nothing the things that are. What are the things that are? This man's system. And through our words, we're chanting down Babylon. Jeremiah 15, verse 17. Israel is scattered sheep. The lions have driven him away. First, the king of Assyria. Now, the lions is talking about other nations. How do you know that? Because it says the king of Assyria have devoured him. And last, this Nebuchadnezzar, the king of Babylon, have broken his bones. They weren't nice to us. Ezekiel 6, verse 8. Yet will I leave a remnant that ye may have some that shall escape the sword among the nations. Now that happened during the time of 70 AD, when the Romans came to, do away with, genocide, through genocide, the Israelites. So a lot of them escaped because they believed the prophecy that the Lord, that our Lord Yahweh Shai gave to them when he was on the earth. Now at that time, Peter was dead. The Apostle Paul was dead. I would say all of them were dead during that time, before that time. And that was during the time of Nero. So the Apostle Paul was already dead. Apostle Peter, the rest of the apostles, James, the rest of them were put to death at the hands of the Roman authorities. But when Paul and Peter was put to death, that was during the time of Nero. Now, after Nero, you had the year of the 4 emperors. Look that up. The year of the 4 emperors. As a matter of fact, I'm gonna go to that. Waiting for a bus that's never gonna come. Okay, let me put it in this way. Year of the 4. Oh, it comes up 4 emperors. Galba, Otho, Vitalis, and Vespasian. This was a guy that remained. And he was behind one of them, I believe it was Otho, if I'm not mistaken, that committed suicide. But Vespasian, you have scholars say that he was behind them getting put to death. Okay? So in order to understand these scriptures fully, and in order for you to understand 2nd Ezra chapter 11 and 2nd Ezra chapter 12, and none of you other camps, you don't understand 2nd Ezra 11 and 2nd Ezra 12 because the 7 did not teach you that. Most of these camps, what they do is they regurgitate what they learned from 1 West. They haven't grown. Okay, so so during this time period, the year of the 4 emperors, and the reason why it's called the year of the 4 emperors, because inside of a year, 3 of them were put to death. 1 committed suicide. I believe that was Galba or Otho. I got to go back to the history. But the one that remained of the 4 was this guy Vespasian. And let me show you that. Let me show you that in the Apocrypha. 2nd Ezra. I believe it's in 2nd Ezra 11. It could be mentioned in 11 and 12. Let's see. Let me try. Bear with me for a minute. I had gone through this, and I think I did this back in 2016. Okay, this is right around here. Okay, then this is 2nd Ezra 11, verse 24. Then saw I also that 2 little feathers divided themselves from the 6 and remained under the head that was upon the right side. For the 4 continued, 4 of them continued in their place. And I beheld, and lo, the feathers that were under the wing thought to set up themselves and to have the rule. This is talking about the year of the 4 emperors. And the second, and I beheld, and lo, there was one set up, but shortly it appeared no more. And the second was sooner away than the first. That was Galba and Otho. And I beheld, and lo, the 2 that remained, Vitalis and Vespasian, thought also in themselves to reign. And when they so thought, behold, there awakened one of the heads that were at rest. That was when you go to the first verse and read on down. That goes back to Julius Caesar, Anthony, and Cassius, and they were fighting for position, and the one that ultimately came on top was Julius. So this is Julius all over again, Julius Caesar. It says 29th verse, and when they so thought, behold, there awakened one of the heads that were at rest, meaning he died. That this right here proves reincarnation, namely, it that was in the midst, for that was greater than the 2 other heads, Anthony and Cassius. And when I saw that the 2 other heads were joined with it, and behold, the head was turned with them that were with it, and did eat up the 2 feathers under the wing that would have reigned, Galba and Otho. But this head put the whole earth, the known earth, in fear. That was Vespasian, and bear rule in it over all those that dwell upon the earth, the known earth. They didn't know nothing about the western side, western hemisphere, with much oppression. And it had the governance during the time of Vespasian and his son Titus of the world, more than all the wings that had been. And after this I beheld, and lo, the head that was in the midst suddenly appeared no more, like as the wings, which is Vitalis. But there remained the 2 heads, which also in like sort ruled upon the earth. That's Vespasian and his son Titus, and over those that dwell therein. And I beheld, and lo, the head upon the right side devoured it that was upon the left side. Well, that's that the right side is Vespasian, the left side is Vitalis. He was number 3. Then I heard a voice which said unto me, look before thee and consider the things that thou seest. And I beheld, and lo, as it were a roaring lion chased out of the wood. And I saw that he sent out a man's voice unto the eagle and said, hear thou, I will talk with thee, and the highest shall say unto thee, art not thou it that remaineth of the 4 beasts, right, whom I made to reign? This is Yahweh Shai as a lion, who I made to reign. He set up the order in my world, what is that? Hosea 1:1 on down. It says that the end of their times might come through them. And the 4th came and overcame all the beasts that were past, and had power over the world, the known world, which is the 4th beast is in the book of Daniel. That was different than the rest of the beasts. And the 4th beast is here again in the form of NATO and the EU. With great fearfulness and over the whole compass of the world, which with much wicked oppression. And this is the 2nd leg of the Roman Empire, the 4th beast. And so long time dwelt he upon the earth with deceit. For the earth has not thou not judged with truth. When the righteous are in authority, the people rejoice. When the wicked bear rule, the people mourn. So anyway, I'm gonna come back. Woo! I hadn't gone through this in like, I think it was 2016. So I'm surprised I didn't stutter. So let's read a couple more verses and I think that's it. Ezekiel 6, verse 8. Yet will I leave a remnant that ye may have some that shall escape the sword among the nations. And I gave you the reference of 70 AD, when ye shall be scattered through the countries. And what does it say in Luke 21:24? We were going to be scattered, right? Wait till this pops up. So, you know, this truth is coming out in a major way. Joel 3, verse 2. You can start from 1. It says, I will also gather all nations and will bring them down to the valley of Yahweh Shaphat, Yahweh's judgment, and will plead with them there. Plead meaning judge. Shaphat. For my people, which are the Israelites, national Israel, and for my heritage Israel, whom they have scattered among the nations and parted my land. So that's talking about those small hats, and that place is going to be destroyed. Small hat land. Let me look at this one, Zechariah 1, verse 19. And I said unto the angel that talked with me, what be these? And he answered, these are the horns which have scattered Judah, Israel, and Jerusalem. So we're scattered every place except for Israel. Now we're back in Israel. There's a certain remnant, couple 100,000 of them in the land of Israel, which they shouldn't be there because that place is getting ready to be destroyed. Let me read these last two. James 1:1, James, is servant of the Most High and of the Lord Yahweh Shai, HaMashiach, to the 12 tribes which are scattered abroad, greeting. 1 Peter 1, verse 1, Peter, an apostle so James addressed this to who? The book of James is addressed to who? The 12 tribes which are scattered abroad. Peter, the book of Peter, this epistle was addressed to who? The Israelites. Peter, an apostle of Yahweh Shai HaMashiach, to the strangers, which are Israelites, scattered throughout Pontus, Galatia, Cappadocia, Asia, and Bithynia. And beyond that, beyond these lands that I just read about. There was a precept that came to mind and just left me. Bear with me for a minute, trying to get it back. See, now what I wanted to do is go into the history of the Maccabees. And it goes into detail on how, and I'll probably do that. I'll do like a short lesson on that in the near future. But anyway, these precepts in 2 Maccabees 6, matter of fact, you know what? Let me go to one of them. I may go to all of them because there are not too many of them. Let me go to 2 Maccabees 4, verse 9. See what that says. Okay, let's see what that says. 2 Maccabees 4, verse 9, and we're going to read down. It said, besides this, he promised to assign 150 more if he might have license to set him up a place for exercise. That's your current gym today. Gymnos is a Greek word meaning nakedness. And them people that go to the gym, the women, them thoughts that go to the gym, you know what they look like. They got them fat asses and they're in super shape. They don't need to go to the gym. They just go there to get men. Get one man, shit don't work out. She come back to the gym, get another dude. Then you got one dude saying, yeah, I used to deal with that hoe. That's where the acronym thought came from, that hoe over there. Because those women that go to the gym by themselves or with their girlfriends, they're hoes. That hoe over there. All right. If you join a gym, you'll see that spirit. That's that spirit that goes back to during that time of the Maccabean time period. It says if he might have license to set up a place of exercise and for the training up of youth in the fashion of the heathen. This is talking about Israelites. That's why you got so many Israelites that excel in sports. That's going back to that Greek spirit. And to write them of Jerusalem by the name of Antiochians. So these Israelites are called Antiochians. It says, I'm going to read down to, I'll read down to the 13th, see if I can go any further. 10th verse, which when the king had granted, he had gotten into his hand, the ruler of the forthwith brought his own nation to Greekish fashion. Who did he bring to Greekish fashion? The Israelites. They were dressing like Greeks. They weren't circumcising their children. They had tattoos on them. They were eating abominable foods. They were worshiping the Greek gods. These Greek mythologies came from the minds of Israelites that were a part of the Greek philosophy or the Hellenization of the Israelites. That's why Jake is all fucked. Hey, when you go to these universities, these black universities, they have fraternities and sororities, and that's based on the old Hellenistic customs back more than 2,000 years ago. So them Jakes that are part of these fraternities and sororities, the Most High is going to destroy them unless the Most High pulls some of them out of it. And these top Jakes, these upper class Jakes that you see on the news, these celebrities and stuff, they're all juiced in, every last one of them. Even if they're speaking against Esau, behind closed doors, they with Esau. Because now what Jake is doing, like guys like Joe Madison and women, people like Karen Hunter, if you got XM Radio, Urban View, I don't know if y'all listen to that, you can give them a shout out. Let me know that you listen to them. Ever since this war took place, they're pushing, you know, how good and great the Ukrainian people are. Like I said, you're only hearing one side of the issue of this war. It's the Ukrainian side. That's why they took down the RT, because they didn't want to hear both sides. And the royal privileges granted of special favor to the what? To the Jews by the means of John, the father of Eupolemus, who went ambassador to Rome, because the connection between Greek and Rome, that's why sometimes you hear Greco-Roman, because the Romans adopted a lot of things from the Greeks. Give you a perfect example. The highest god of the Greek mythology is Zeus. In Rome, the highest god is what is his name? Jupiter. When you do the research, you find out that Jupiter is nothing but Zeus and the Greeks, but they just changed the name. It says, who went ambassador to Rome for amity and aid. He took away and put down the governments which were according to the law. He brought up new customs against the law. So the laws that we were keeping, they said, no, you can't keep them laws. And when they introduced the juicy juice, Jake was supposed to go against it. We went against it because you know what the scriptures say? If not anything else, it says, put not any markings in your flesh. Hey, the first thing that General Yohana did was go ahead and take it. Go ahead and take it. So guess what? He's got to be juiced in. And he's got to answer to that, man. 12th verse. For he built gladly a place of exercise under the tower itself. You ever watch LeBron James? Before he plays, he puts up all those different esoteric signs. Let's look up the word esoteric. Okay, this is my place. And you look up the word esoteric. Get the meaning of that word. Esoteric. Hope I spelled it right. Okay, I think I did. Okay, esoteric meaning. Ooh, esoteric. Let's listen to it. Esoteric. So get the simple definition. Intended for or likely to be understood by only a small number of people with a specialized knowledge or interest. They bring you esoteric messages in their movies. When you go to see these movies, Jake and other people, the heathen, they go to watch a movie, you know, for entertainment. You have the elite, the ones in the nose that go to the movies and they see the esoteric meanings in the movies. When I go see certain movies, I look for the esoteric meanings of the movies and what they might be saying. And that's all throughout your society. When you buy your products, the symbols, the logos are all have esoteric meanings. So when you see LeBron James doing all those signs, that's he's showing the elite, I'm with y'all. because he was one of them. He had to be one of them guys back there during the time of the Maccabees that followed the Greekish fashions that you know went to the place of exercise. That's where the Olympics came from. So where did I leave off? Let me get ready to close. I went a little long. I know how Jake got a short attention span. Okay, let me read the. Did I lose something? Wait a minute. Okay, 12 verse. Now we're getting into a little bit of meat. For he built gladly a place of exercise under the tower itself. And that's your current gym. That's why there's gyms and arenas all over the place. Every major state got an arena where you have the Super Bowl, these big boxing matches. They take place in arenas. So that goes back to the Greco-Roman culture, which was about being athletes and sports people. And so for he built gladly a place of exercise under the tower itself and brought the chief young men under his subjection and made them wear a hat. Now, it doesn't tell you what kind of hat that they wore. Now, could it be a fitted? It says, now such are the height of Greekish fashion. So Jake just dressed in the Greekish fashion, the Greco-Roman fashion, the fashion of the world, and an increase of heathenish manners. They did things what the heathens do. Through the exceeding profaneness of Jason, that ungodly wretch, and no high priest, just sellout. He was a sellout. That's another if you mention Jason, that ungodly wretch, and no high priest, you what comes to mind? Hyrcanus, that forced the Edomites to follow the Lord's statutes and commandments. 14 verse. Let's read a little bit more. It said that the priest had no courage to serve anymore at the altar, but despising the temple and neglecting, remember, it's the priests, neglecting the sacrifices, hastened to be partakers of the unlawful allowance in the place of exercise. After the game of discus called them forth. What does it mean, a game of discus? It's talking about the Olympics. The Olympics, as a matter of fact, let me do this. Now you know a little bit about the year of the four emperors, and you know that that's spoken of, prophesied in the book of Second Ezra. All right. So what did I say I was going to do? Give me a second here. Give me a second. Okay. Now I know what I was going to do. First, Olympic Games. Okay, that's a modern era, 1896. First Olympic Games in Greece. Let's see what it says. Okay, the first recognized Olympic Games were held at Olympia in the Greek city-state of Elis in 776. So this has been going on for long before Antiochus Epiphanes came on the scene. He just publicized it. But and he involved Jake. But it is generally accepted that the Olympic Games were at least 500 years old at the time. So it said the priests got involved in that. And so what happened was they threw out the law, statutes, and commandments of the Most High. They said, we're going to follow the Greek ways. That's why today you have, when you go in the New Testament and it mentions the Gentiles receiving salvation, and mentions Cornelius. Cornelius obviously came from this line of people that didn't want to be Israelites anymore, that were forced to not at all keep the laws. So we know it's talking about the ancient Olympics because it said, after the game or the games of discus called them forth. Read a little bit more. No setting by the honors of their fathers, but liking the glory of the Grecians best of all. Let me read that again, 15th verse. No setting by the honors of their fathers, which were Israelites, which kept the law, statutes, and commandments, believed and called on the Most High, the Supreme Yahweh, but liking the glory of the Grecians best of all. That's why you never hear LeBron James mention anything about Israelite. And then you have these actors and these people in the rap world that acknowledge that they're Israelites, but then they go right back to their worldly thing, man. They ain't gonna come, ain't no top actor or athlete or a rapper or singer that calls himself an Israelite. He's not going to be out there every week on the highways and the byways. Anyway, let me jump down to the 19th verse. It said the ungracious Jason sent special messengers from Jerusalem who were Antiochians, which were Israelites that were following the Greek customs, to carry 300 drachmas of silver, which is a Greek form of money. And it said silver, right? True money is silver and gold, to the sacrifice of what? Of Hercules. And Hercules was a Jake, but he was a Greek. He was like a famous athlete among the Greeks, which even the bearers thereof thought it fit not to bestow upon the sacrifice. So the gods they were worshiping were Greek gods. And Jake is doing it to this very day, because it was not convenient, but to be reserved for other charges. So let me look up the word Hercules. And who was the last person to play in the Hercules movie? It was The Rock, which he was a Jake. So they were showing you in the movie that Hercules was a Jake. Bantu knots. Okay, let me see they say the Romans, but it goes back to the Greeks. Okay, here it is. Here's this guy. Hold up. Now the last guy to play Hercules was The Rock. And they're showing you that, well, let's give him a little truth. Let's get an actual Jake to play Hercules. All right. So let's come back over here. Let me look at this here. Okay, this is supposed to be Hercules, which is Jake. You see, he got a beard, right? That was Jake. So Hercules became a god. It says Hercules is the Roman equivalent to the Greek divine hero Heracles, son of Jupiter. So he was a mythical character and mortal Alchemian. In classic mythology, Hercules is famous for his strength and for his numerous far-ranging adventures. So this is like a made-up character, but you had Jakes that were like Hercules, you know, Heracles. Oh, like this guy Achilles from the movie Troy. That was a story written by Homer, one of the seven sages. I mean, history is vast, man. So where am I? So it says, this unrighteous Jason sent special messengers from Jerusalem who were Antiochians. Who were the Antiochians? They were Jakes that followed the way of the Greek way, to carry 300 drachmas of silver to the sacrifice of Hercules. So they wasn't sacrificing unto the Most High, they were sacrificing unto these Greek gods, which, by the way, were the Greek gods were so-called black people. Zeus was a so-called black man. Jupiter, a so-called black man, based upon somebody's mind. Because Zeus and Jupiter never existed. That was just a figment of some Jake's imagination, which even the bearers thereof thought it fit not to bestow upon the sacrifice, because it was not convenient, but to be reserved for other charges. So you had the priests of Israel giving them license. And this is also in your secular history. That's why there's two major copies of the Apocrypha. One was by Cambridge and the other one was by Oxford. If you got the Apocrypha, it was either printed in Oxford printing press or Cambridge. And they're being printed as we speak to this right now. And this is really, the Apocrypha is really for Esau, highly educated Edomites, so to speak. Anyway, with that, I'm gonna say shalom. And there's a, you know, in order to understand why the word Gentile in the New Testament is talking about receiving salvation and being blessed, they're talking about Israelites vocab alone, not talking about you. The only hope that you have is that you are Israelite. Other than that, there's no hope for you. You better hope you're a Hamite or something. You don't want to be an Edomite. Anyway, with that, I'm going to say shalom.